Up next on Inside ChampCar, how the sausage is made. Welcome to Inside ChampCar, the podcast where we go deep dive into all things in the ChampCar Endurance Series. My Kemosabe, I'm Kemosabe to, I don't know, whatever. Bill Strong's with me. I'm Brian Bielanski. This week on the show, we're going to go and talk a little bit about all that goes into putting on ChampCar races. It's just, you guys don't do anything. You just, you show up. You know, hopefully some cars will be there. Nothing
Dana,
happens
Chelsea,
between Sunday and Friday.
Yeah, Dana, Chelsea, Andy, and Jackie, they just sit around and do nothing. And answer. They pick up the phone, hang it up real quick, and just show up, and it just happens.
Yeah.
And people love it.
There's no effort.
No, these people work their butts off. They there's a lot that goes on before an event. Lots of people can I bring my dog? Can I bring my kids? Can I do this? Can I bring them here? Can I take them there? Those questions, and they have to get those answered.
So this is like a 4-week break.
Kinda. It doesn't seem like 4 weeks. 'Cause I'm going away for my break. So.
But it's like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. What all is this, like a kind of a reset? Everybody kind of goes through all their gear, figures out what they've been, what they need to replace for the second half of the season. What's going on in this middle couple of weeks when there's not any racing going on?
So we've had some email issues over the years.
Okay.
And part of it had to be where we were hosting our email. So I've been complaining about it for a very long time. Of course, any fixes to stuff like this cost money, and we don't want to spend money where we don't need to spend it.
Right.
But we really needed to spend the money. And Dana gave the approval at Nelson Ledges. So I spent the last 2 weeks getting our email sorted out. And I don't know, I have stayed away from email servers my whole life because I did not ever want to deal with those, because that's an important part of a business.
Mm-hmm.
I do the website. I do web server side. So, and design side. So that's what I do. This is the first time I've ever had to do email, and the transition has been pretty darn smooth, but I've had to learn a lot. So I've been doing that. I've been getting staff over, everybody signed up and everybody working on it. And Google's been actually really good with working with us and helping us out here. And it's working. But now we have to train the staff and that. But we also have Dana getting ready for the 24. He's got all his stuff he's got to do. I've got Jimmy doing trophies for the event. He also has to do extra trophies because we're doing the Summer of 24s, which is the Nelson Ledges and VIR. Chelsea is doing Gingerman, getting ready for Mid-Ohio and getting all the things done for that. So I'm constantly getting emails from her on things that we need to do for those races. And Dana's doing Thompson, so he's doing that as well. So there's a lot going on the back end of these events. I think Laura is actually coming on, and she's going to be learning how to do one of the events as well. So Laura works in our registration. We tend to cross-train everybody on every job.
Sure.
So it works out well that in case somebody can't show up, which we had happen this year, the timing and scoring flights got canceled. Got to have timing and scoring, right? Well, we just had people that were trained on it and that have done it for years, and they were able to jump in, and none of the racers ever see this stuff, which is great, which is what we want. And so, that's kind of what we've been doing I've been doing all the decals art for the next 6 races after, what was the last one I did? VIR. Yeah. For the next 5 races. Then I did up some social media stuff. We're trying to get folks signed up for the Sebring 10 hour, and they're having a really big party at the 7.
Sebring, a party? I can't imagine.
So
nobody parties at Sebring.
We're running a 10.5 hour race.
Okay.
And I think it's going to run from like 9 to, 7 or something like that, whatever, 10.5 hours, 7:30.
Right.
And then from
8.
Let me get the
until nobody can stand.
I'm just looking in. I think 8 o'clock. From 8 o'clock for 5 hours, they'll have an open bar in the 7 hotel for a big
Okay.
party, dancing, dinner, open
Wow.
bar, $119 per person, plus taxes. It says plus taxes. They're going to have classic oldies and dance music. I don't know what that is and what's
It's your
considered
kind of
classic
music.
oldies. Oh, okay. And you have to call for reservations, but it's a lot going on there.
Nice.
We've kind of planned the race around that because there's a lot of folks that kind of want to do the New Year's stuff, and you can do it there. Bring your wives, families, girlfriends, whatever's, and have fun. And it's gonna be neat. So I've been doing that, and
Nice.
then we've also got some other races that we've got coming up in November and December that I've been kind of working on the marketing side of it.
Sure.
So getting ready for our stuff and
You know,
magazines. I got magazines ask me to put ads, submit ads. So I've got to
do
kind of
that.
think of ideas for that stuff. And
You know, I've been involved on the administrative organizational side of racing now for 20 years. Hate to admit that. And it's amazing. You know, it's like when you get married, you know, as the married couple, you know exactly how the day's supposed to go. And there's always a couple things that go like a disaster. But most of the guests never know that that's happened. And you get done, you're like, oh, all these things. And then you're like, people are like, we had the best time. We didn't know anything was going on. A race is a lot like that because there's always little things that pop up on a race weekend, always little issues that pop up between races that lead up to the race weekend. And in the end, the racers, if we do our jobs well enough, never know that any of these issues happened.
Right.
You know, and there's so many people who are instrumental in putting on a race. And if any of them, you know, don't do their job well, then it becomes a thing. But most of the time, even when things go wrong, the people who are out there have done it so often. It's kind of like those insurance. We know a lot because we've seen a lot. You know, there's not a whole lot that pops up at a race weekend wrong that hasn't happened before that we don't know how to fix. And that's because you've got really good people and really good training. And I've seen that at the races I've been involved with. So it's pretty cool.
I've worked with this company since July 2016. It's a long time.
They haven't gotten rid of you yet?
No, they've tried. That was a for you. But yeah, I've been here since 2016. Part-time, kind of doing media stuff, and then in 2017 I retired from University of Virginia, but 2017 I was kind of on full-time. I had so much tenure at UVA. I was able to take so much time off. Basically, I spent it, doing what I do now.
Right.
So did that. But
so wait. Hold on. You did it part-time and they still hired you full-time?
Yeah.
Wow. You snookered them.
Well, but
anyway,
it's one of the things that we originally worked with was that like I said earlier, everybody needs to know everybody else's job so that people can step in. So, hey, the race director goes to the restroom. I'm up in the tower. I can run the race.
Yeah.
Timing and scoring. Not, they can come over and run the race when needed.
Sure.
Everybody can pretty much do. We can run pit lane.
Mm-hmm.
We can do pit in and pit out. There's so many things that everybody can do, and the racers never see it.
Yep.
And it was great. And as a racer, I can go up to a gray shirt, which we all wear gray shirts,
right,
to a gray shirt and say, hey, I need, what do I do here? And any of our staff should be able to help you out. If they can't, they know who to ask.
Right. Exactly.
So, and hopefully it makes it fun.
Yeah.
And a good event for the racers on the weekend. We've had our issues.
Sure. Of course.
As any growing business does. But we've learned from those, and we've kind of moved on and become better, or we think we've gotten better.
Well, you know what the proof is.
That they come to race with us.
Right.
They
continue to do it. And it's been a business now for over 10 years. I don't know, what was the first date of the first race?
2009 was our first
2009.
race.
So you're going on now 20 or 11, 13 years. I'm Polish. I don't do good math.
I was just thinking about the 15-year, because I pulled out a sticker yesterday, and I'm going to show you. I can't show the podcast folks, but it was our 2009, 2015 10-year anniversary sticker. And I'm thinking today, I was like, oh shoot, we're coming up on 15 years. So I need to kind of start planning what we want to do for the 15-year mark.
Cool.
Hopefully I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll find out. I hope you're still here too, because I have a feeling I'm tied to your hip.
You are.
All right.
So,
Anything else, Bill, before we get off to some what was actually not actually? It's not like I'm surprised. What a great chat we just had with Ray Franck.
Ray has been dying to get on the show, and of course, I throw him little, remember the talk show where they would make fun of some actor that wanted to be on the talk show, and they would at the end of the show, oh, sorry, we were going to have such and such here.
We ran out of time.
Ran out of time. Yeah, we would always do that to Ray. So good guy.
Absolutely. Good interview. You'll want to stick around for that. So anything else?
No, that's it. I'm going fishing, so don't contact me. I'll be having fun, and I'll be back in a week.
There you go. All right. We will be back in just a second. Again, like we said, Ray Franck, Chief of Everything Tech in ChampCar. He is next on Inside ChampCar.
Every race weekend, you don't know what's going to happen. But with ChampCar.live, all the action comes right into your living room. The ChampCar Endurance Series is North America's home to real competitive endurance road racing. And ChampCar.live brings you live, full race coverage with in-car, trackside cameras, interviews, and expert commentary. And ChampCar.live brings you live, full race coverage with in-car and trackside cameras, interviews, and expert commentary. Check out ChampCar.live on the web, subscribe, and ring the bell so as not to miss a single minute of the action. It's fun, free, informative, and it's just a click away. ChampCar.live. Come check us out. We bring you a front row seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Welcome back to Inside ChampCar. I am Brian Bielanski. He is
William Strong.
William Strong.
That's it. Leave a message after the tone.
And with us today is Ray Franck. If you're long and into the ChampCar scene, you know who Ray is. He is in charge of all things technical with ChampCar. And I'm sure you have a fancy title, Ray. What's the fancy title?
Actually, I have not been given a title.
Oh.
I guess it's Tech Chief, maybe.
Chief of Tech Chief.
Yes, pit boss is what's going to happen at the racetracks. We got a pit boss making a arrival again.
There we go. So, head of all things technical. So you're either the team's best friend or least best friend.
Yeah.
You can.
We try to keep it informative, safety, and most everybody kind of likes me. I think I have a following.
So,
let's start off. Let's do a Brian Bielanski and start off. Ray, what got you interested in cars?
Oh gosh. I guess all my cousins had hot rods and 57 Chevys and Corvettes and stuff like that. If you want to say what started it, my dad wasn't. He was a hunter fisherman. I liked doing that. We did that all the time I was growing up. He worked on things with his hands and fixed stuff, taught me mechanics and stuff. And he passed when I was 14 years old, but I still use things he told me almost every day. It's amazing, what all he gave me in the little bit of time he had with me.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
And your first time to the racetrack, to any racetrack, what was that experience? Where was it? When was it? Do you remember that?
Drag racing in high school, and then the Apple Orchard 500. Buddy of mine, his dad had a farm, and a bunch of guys used to take junk cars, and we'd go around the dealerships, and man, you could get some running stuff off the back lot. It might not have brakes, it might not have exhaust, but you pull a little used motor oil. We had buddies at all these stations, and hell, water works good and brakes for as long as those things would last. I mean, we take them to the farm and get about 10 of them or 12 of them running at the time, and that's kind of what taught me how to get around on dirt and how to make the thing move forward while moving sideways. And man, we had a blast. We used to do it, like spring and fall, and of course we tear the cars up and crush them out and do whatever. And there's certain things you learn. You know, we never got keys. We always had to hot wire it. But back in the day, they didn't have steering locks or column locks or anything like that. So you didn't hot wire it under the hood, because if something happened, like a bunch of the old Fords, the motor mounts would break and the throttles would hung wide open. And if you didn't have any way to turn it off, you kind of had to run it till it blew up or ran out of gas.
So is this like back pre-war, like 1930s or something, or?
Bill, this is 1972, 3, 4.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. So I remember that then. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, you were in diapers, I know.
No,
But
I wasn't that young.
No, he's older than me.
Teenager.
I was in
Who
diapers.
said anything about age, Bill? I said you were in diapers.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
so you started doing that, and then did you start off working with folks in that ultimately went on to NASCAR, or?
Yeah. We move on. I go to Nashville Auto Diesel College and learn some things down there, body work and stuff. Worked at some shops. Came back and went to work for a guy that was a thief and crook, and got out of there right in the nick of time. And went to the work for a fine gentleman. He actually just passed here 2 months ago. We were still good friends even after all these years, but he ran a shop, auto parts, body shop, auto repair, and he also had race cars. Ted Harefield used to drive for him, Run Harris. And a couple of the mechanics around there were old guys that had modifieds back in the day. Pete Goodman, which had a car Run Harris used to drive, and Ray Hendrick. I actually painted a dump truck for him and did some things. There's just a bunch of racing guys around there, and there was a guy that rented a shop from him that built chassis. Just take square tubing and cut it up, roll bars, bend bars, and he was making race car chassis. American Race Car Engineering. His name was Greg Deeth. And he built the car himself and ran it and sold chassis. And Charlie Ford used to drive for him. And we won, Charlie won so many limited sportsman races at Southside, Beltsville, Manassas, Langley. I mean, it just, South Boston. I mean, that little old car just really used to hook up. Charlie could really wheel it. We won a lot of races there. I'd worked on a car, built a car for Donnie Leak, and then worked one for Lenny Pond. And it was just a big stock car environment around there. I finally landed kind of like with Tommy Ellis and worked with him for years. And we won the last late model sportsman national championship, which, was touring around the country. It was actually, we'd race sometimes 3-4 nights a week.
Right.
I ran 72 features in that year to win the championship.
Well, that's why Richard Petty's 200 wins is never going to get beat, because even the Grand National Series back then, they were running three or four nights a week.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially, of course, they were running dirt, fairgrounds, all kind of tracks everywhere. But there's some, that'll be a hard one to beat.
Yeah,
I don't think it ever will.
Yeah.
But you never know. They may start counting 2 races a piece or something. Who knows? Yeah. New math.
A lot of people don't realize, or maybe have, how many little short track bull rings there were in Virginia 35, 40 years ago. You mentioned a bunch of them, but it used to be you couldn't throw a baseball and not hit a racetrack.
Every county had one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seemed like every county had one.
Yeah, well, a lot of your county fairgrounds, would only run a couple of times a year, but they still had a track there.
Yeah.
Be it dirt or asphalt. It was a really good track down in Raleigh. And I know Petersburg Fairgrounds, but I was raised, we had one there. But yeah, coming up through that, just got the stock car bug, and then started, got a chance to race karts. Did that for years and years. Very competitive. Won some championships, tracks and state. Good times. And then I got a chance to drive a stock car. Huh? Do what?
You still kart, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Karts will keep you in shape. And,
yeah, they will.
The feel relates. A kart, just when you overdrive a kart, it just slaps you in the face and just says, "It's you, dummy." Smooth up. There's no shocks, there's no springs, there's nothing to blame but you. You drove it in the corner too hard. Now it's skipping and hopping and saw it broken momentum, and you're slower than what you'd be if you were backed it up a little bit and was Ray Franck smooth through the corner and fast off. That's the trick to getting around these things.
Are you doing enduro karts? Are you doing ovals, or what are you doing?
I did oval sprints is what I won the championship with, but started doing some enduro and some road courses. Connor, my son, he started when he was 6. I coached ball for a lot of years, kind of got away from racing for a little bit with my oldest boy, and the youngest one came up and he didn't like ball. So I got real smart and went to a go-kart track. Next thing I know, we're back go-kart racing again.
Nice.
So I took some old tricks and old school stuff that I learned way back in the day and brought it out when he started. And it was kind of cheap when it started. It was called clone racing. You had everything was spec'd, and it was $1 buy for the engine. So you really couldn't put a whole lot in it if you were going to have to sell the thing for $150. So
right.
That kept it cheap for a while, but that didn't last long. And now they're teched, and now clone motors $2,000. So. Yeah. But that's racing. That's one thing I like about ChampCar. Our rules will kind of save you $1 if you actually pay attention and don't go beyond, overbuilding, your car.
Right.
That's one thing about a ChampCar is with this 180 tread wear tire, you can only do so much. You can only do so much with your brakes. You go out and buy a monster, ganky, super grip throw down brakes. It's not enough tire and adhesion and grip to get the brakes up to operating temperature to where you're getting the value of what you spent your money for. So you really just wasted money where, there's affordable pads and, 4-pot pistons that will do all you need and then some. You got plenty, you should be able to have brakes to last 24 hours easily in our series. These guys having to change pads and everything are kind of, they're going too aggressive with stuff. And that's another thing about our racing. It's really the more aggressive you go with something, it kind of hurts you to a point. You get aggressive with building your engine and you have more power, but then you break your transmission. You blow it up, just.
I find that we're stupid on a curve. So we make stupid, expensive mistakes until we realize it, and then all of a sudden we've learned our mistakes, and then we come back down the curve, and we get to where we're like, okay, we don't need to have that brakes, we don't have to do that with the motor, but every person who gets involved with this crazy sport does that little curve. Like we all think that dollars equals speed, and then we realize that sometimes it evens out at some point.
Yeah, but that's like I say, what's good about our series is it's looking after things that, you can spend a bunch of money, but you're kind of wasting it. You don't need to. And if you look at the cars that are successful in our series, there's some that they got good stuff on them. Now, I'm not saying these guys are running junk that you can't take and beat on these cars and run them for 8, 10, 24 hours at a time and think some wore out is going to get you through. So you just need to spend your money wisely. It's plenty of things you can do. And I'm guilty of it myself. I'm building a car and, I've worked on it and worked on it and worked on it.
It'll get there.
I would have been so much ahead if I'd have just put a cage in the thing and just raced it. I'd have been
racing
a year ago. Easy.
What kind of car is it?
Now I've got this Morphodite super light, I think it's trick thing that it's either going to work or it's not. I don't know.
It's a fastback Miata.
Yeah, that's this one, and of course I got another one too. You got one race car, you got to have 2 or 3.
So how did you get started in ChampCar or ChampCar at the time?
Well, autocrossing. Yeah, let's get to that because you told me yourself you're one of those national championship super throwdown.
Oh, not me.
You told me you won the world title one time.
No,
man.
I won that.
Canada won a band, kicked all the Canadians and all. I've heard it all. But anyway, let's just say the autocross thing. Like I said, I was coaching ball, but I had a Corvette sitting there and I wasn't doing anything with it. and I got the need for speed again. So I went back and did some autocross, and I did that in high school too. But I went back and did it. NASA Mid-Atlantic, got good. My wife had to send me to school, and it was the best thing she did. Autocrossing is the hardest thing you can do with an automobile because it's so much in your head. You got a racetrack. If you're on a racetrack, you got the track, the grass, the wall. You kind of know where to go. You got 20 acres of asphalt with 500 cones on it. You have to design where to go in your head, and you have to make the fastest, most smooth path through the gates as you can. That's how you're successful.
Right.
And it's a skill set. It's car control to a certain point, but it's so much in your head about designing where you're going to go to get your speed and drop your times.
Right.
Now, this race car I'm working on, its claim to fame is, let me see, one time, it was about 5-6 years ago. We showed up at an autocross challenged by this Canadian superstar guy, went up there, California dude. Yeah, Bill Strong, that was him. Challenged to autocross dude.
Is this the Richmond story?
Yes, he's told you about it.
No. I had a little birdie tell me that I was supposed to ask you about that because it would make Bill turn red.
Let's preface this story. I hadn't autocrossed competitively since the 80s, and I did some up in Canada, and but that was it. And then my son gets his license, and a car, and so we're gonna go up to Richmond and do this autocross, and Ray brings his son up, and there's gonna be this competition. All right, Ray, go ahead.
Oh, you want me to tell the part about when you got lost?
Yeah.
So get that man some help. He doesn't know what he's doing.
So Ray is announcing the race. He's doing the announcing over the loudspeaker, says doing a pretty good job and sounding really cool and stuff. And I get up to the line, and I go, and I want to say before the first corner, I am completely lost.
Before the first corner?
I think so. I was somewhere I shouldn't have been. I saw all these red flags go up, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. This isn't good.
You're supposed to go
not only off course, but
on part of the other course. Oh, backwards. Nice.
Reverse course, off course.
I was so lost.
But anyway, he got good. He finally, there at the end, he was sweating it out. He finally got around there. He beat his son Ian, but I think the Franks ruled the day. And
yes, they did.
Yeah. We the little Miata put a hurting on him. It was fun. It was a great day.
Oh yeah, we did have a fun time. Yeah, Ian had me beat up that last run, and basically I just threw it through the corners because I'm competitive, and yeah, because I wouldn't have lived that one down at all.
Oh no,
you still haven't.
It would have been bad.
Now, Ray, I am cutting you some slack now, but anyway. Yeah. So that's okay. All right. So autocrossing leads to road racing, right? Yep. So I'm reading articles on the internet. This guy comes on VIR. Hey, I found this track. I'm going to restore it. I'm going to make a motorsports resort. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm like, yeah, right, sure. Well, lo and behold, a year later, bang, this thing opens up. And I'm like, well, it's an hour and 5 minutes from my house. I'm like, well, I had to go up and check it out. So I went to the first vintage race up there. There's cobras everywhere. This place was plush. It was nice. I mean, you could tell they were still working on it. But I mean, I look, all the tires around the place new. Everything there is new. I mean, it's just nicer than I ever dreamed. Like I said, I go to circle tracks, and sometimes the bathrooms and stuff are a little bit, But anyway, this place, tile inside. I mean, it was just off the chain in my mind. You're like, man, it's awesome. How in the world am I going to get on this track? I've got to do something to get on this thing. Oh my goodness, look at this. And so I figured vintage racing. So I started making plans to build me a vintage stock car because I figured, my competitive racing days are over. I've done South Boston, South Side, and stuff like that. I did get to drive some stock cars. I didn't win. I started 19 features and finished second in 9 of them.
Wow.
Without a win. And but moving on. So I figured, hey, I'll just, do this. This will be fun. And I fell into a real historic car that I started building. And then somebody at church mentioned ChampCar. And hey, you always bragging about how good you drive and how much you know about cars and how you do this, that, and the other. And why don't you join our ChampCar team? What's a ChampCar? Oh, it's a cheap race car. Got a 01, got Dixie flags and all on it, and got the horns out the back and everything. This was back when ChampCar had themes.
Right.
So I went over there and looked at it, and it was a cute little piece and everything. I said, well, where do y'all race this thing? He says, VIR. We want to run a 24-hour. There's another one coming up in August. So hook, line, and sinker. I get in the thing. I get there. I find 87. This car was a 240SX that ran oval track at South Boston. So it had all the oval track tricks done to it. It had won the championship like 3 years before these guys bought it, started ChampCar racing with it.
Now, wait a second. Oval cars turn left or right?
Turn left.
Okay.
All right.
You beat me to the question.
In this thing, I find they've run this thing in 3 races. Well, I start working on it, and I've got to get it to where I want it. I look at the rear is cambered all to the right, like just like you're going around a stock car track. It had like an inch and a half of spacers, giving it wedge in the left rear. It had 87 pounds of lead melted into the quarter panel on the driver's side. I'm like, how did y'all ever get this thing around a right-hand corner? And the brakes, they had stock brakes on it. They were putting pads on it 2 or 3 times a event. So I get on, find me a Nissan Guru and get the best legal brakes and the rear and everything for it. Engine-wise, the little car was decent. I took some more weight out of it, did everything, set it up. We go to VIR, started 24. We run a perfect race. Didn't put a wrench on the car from start to end. The little car runs 2 hours. I'm in the thing. I do my first 2-hour stint. I get out. I got my helmet in my hand. I'm like, man, this is the coolest thing I think I've ever done. This is awesome. So the racing is just so fabulous. I turn around and Bobby Labonte is climbing out the one right behind me. And I'm like, this is 2012. Yeah. He's still running Cup. And I'm like, what? What is just happening here? And then all the other, just people you meet, just never know who's driving in one of these cars. I mean, my mind has been blown so many times. It's incredible. This club is just awesome. It's, like I said, it's a pretty great thing.
Let's talk about tech a little bit. I joked at the top that you're either the tech guys and gals are either the racer's best friend or the racer's worst enemy. But really, when it comes down to it, if you go up to the tech team at any racetrack and you say, listen, here's what's going on, the tech team's there to help you. And most of the time, they're always eager to be involved and answer your questions and get you on the track safely and maybe even keep you on the track before helping to keep things from breaking, right?
Yes, there's been many, many times I find items on cars that are, getting ready to break or something, like even an impound, when we're going over the cars after the race. If I see a crack, support or something, I'll call it out and tell the guys, hey, you need to look at this. I look at a lot of just different things on the car, things I see, wires going through, holes with no grommets, anything, stuff that's going to short out. I can't see it all. I only spend a few minutes with the car, but we're going to make sure that your battery, that 60-pound battery, is held in where it's not going to come loose. Your cool shirt box is not going to come loose and hit you upside the head if you do what we say. And we have videos of both of these items floating, ramming freely through cockpits and race cars. Not just ours, but multiple series.
Right. Pro series too.
So, yes. It's kind of, G-forces and a smack and weight, you got to hold stuff in place and a screw won't do it. It's just some of the kind we want things that are mounted to be mounted well. We're just trying to make cars better. And when I started doing this, I helped right off the bat in 2012. Well, I've got to learn more about the series, got to learn the ins and outs, got to get in here and see what's going on, because I want to be successful one way or the other. So I started volunteering, which is something we still do. And once John, that was running the club back then, once he found out that I knew something about race cars and tech, Well, I ended up teching like all the time, like just tech, and then when Mike started running the club, after about a year, volunteering stuff, he says, hey, you're still racing and you're sticking your face in all these guys' cars. That's not really fair. So you help Al with the equipment. So I was, Al was Mike's daddy, still is Mike's daddy. But I was Al's slave, pick this up, move that, haul this, do that. So I did the equipment side of it for probably a year and a half. Also toting stuff up and down steps with Bill, which we still do. So I just got into doing things like that and checking. So I just felt the need. There were some things I saw in cars that really bothered me with the fuel systems and things that NASCAR are taking care of, 20, 30 years ago. But road racing was still just, okay, so the fuel pump's right beside the driver. And, the hose is okay. Yeah, it just runs through here and it's got a couple clamps on it. It's okay. I didn't think it was okay. Just fuel. They didn't just sell that's the problem. It's the fittings. It's the hose clamps. It's the hoses themselves. Who knows what you buy these days?
Well, you're also your other profession. You're you own a body shop. You work with ChampCar. You're on the board of directors, and also you're a fireman.
Yeah, 33 years in the fire service. Found a member. Went on a call today. Actually, just kind of got back right before the old 8:30 mark here. And maybe I've seen some things that are abnormal, but there's, we deal a lot with gas. And gas is a very dangerous thing, and it's something that needs to be respected. And it's a lot of gas out there at races. I mean, you walk on down pit road and count. I'm not going to tell you because I've counted several times how much fuel is actually at a ChampCar race.
Yeah.
And, let's kind of not have it all sitting in one place together. But, on a hot day, vapors and fumes do things. And like I say, we need to respect it. So some things I put in place as far as where you handle fuel, I think is definitely made a much safer race car and pit road. Matter of fact, I know it. I just feel it in my heart, and I know that some of the things we put in place are really valuable.
Right.
And stuff may go bad, and it can happen anytime.
Well, at the end of the day, our job is as people who are involved with racing on the organization level is just to get people home safely. That's why there are rules in most cases. It's not about going fast. It is, but I mean, a lot of the rules are just in place to keep us safe. So, so if you're working on if I'm building a ChampCar and I'm getting ready to go at my first ChampCar race, what are the things that you see most when you see a brand new build show up at the racetrack? What are the 2 or 3 things that you see that you always are saying, you got to fix this, you got to make this different? What are the things that you typically see on a brand new build?
See it some on brand new builds, but see it most on some old builds and possibly cars, cars that have won national championships and other series, incomplete welded cages. And some of them kind of like, you just glance at it, it looks good, but when you really look at it, everywhere that you have to really look is not welded at all. It's just like they just skipped it. I found like 4 or 5 cars that I don't know, it was criminal amount of weld that was missing in these vehicles.
So the whole bead wasn't around the actual weld? Is that because they couldn't reach it?
Like the bottom half, you reach the whole top half of the bars between the top and the roof. I've had to make people cut holes in the roof to weld the top of the cages up. And I don't mean just 1, 2, 10. I'm talking about a bunch.
It's amazing. And it was one of those things that it surprised me because we did have a lot of cars that came from other series where the cars would get inspected by not the series, but by outside shops or whatever. And there were so many missed welds.
Yes,
and
we had a beautiful M3 come through at a track. And I'm looking, and the whole halo bar is nothing at the top. Nothing. I'm talking about an inch and a half all the way around. And I'm like, but it did have these cute little corner braces, with tube coming down. I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe I give them a one race. But then Thomas is up at the front, and he goes, well, hey, the dash bar is not welded in. Oh, well, darn, it isn't. And then, Andrew is around the other side, and he goes, well, hey, the door bars aren't either. And it's just, oh my, and no, this car. And I mean, to look at the car, to glance at it and to look, and it has run several races in the two upper echelon series. But like I say, they have shops that, look at their cars. And I know I miss stuff and our guys, but I mean, we find some things that are pretty, appalling. But aside from welding, battery mounted, we just, on that, we want the belts mounted correctly where they swivel at the bottom. Just how the manufacturer recommends.
Yeah. I just can't imagine getting a cage built as a driver and a car builder and not actually going and looking at the cage before I took it out of the shop to put the cage in. You would.
But that's the thing, is we're not professional racers. There's a lot of guys that just don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
So they send it off to somebody they trust. I'm a professional cage builder, and here, make me a cage. And so they expect all this to be done, and they're shocked when Ray finds this.
Well, and as a professional cage builder, if someone dies and they inspect that cage, someone's gonna sue you from here until next month.
Now, I did professional in quotes.
Yeah, I know.
So there are shops out there that do outstanding jobs. Right. So it's just finding those is hard when you're first building a car because you don't know.
Yeah.
And let's get to the scary point. Grassroots Motorsports is a girl that is in there quite often. She had a BMW that she raced and actually went off track, rolled the car severely, and they found that a good portion of the welds around the top part of the cage that were hard to get to were actually auto seam sealer.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I don't know if they ever found out who actually built that cage or whatever, but that's pretty blatantly. And another thing Bill will tell you, and we just run across and got bulletins from other series. We communicate to other series, I think, quite well. We reach out when we find something, and a lot of them call us when they find something. Right. And we're seeing videos and stuff that's counterfeit safety equipment.
Yeah.
It's got SFI stamped on it, and it's not, if you're not looking exactly what it is, you can't tell the difference. If you know what to look for, you can see it. But and then seat belts, you buy some seat belts off eBay or something, and you put them in the car. They might have this logo on them, and you get in a wreck. And we've seen that the metal brackets actually are cast so poorly that they just come apart. And the guy, you end up getting slammed up into the dashboard. And I think it haven't seen any in this country, but there are a couple of videos of some cars in South Africa and stuff hitting the wall and doing some pretty bad stuff. And
we now keep a binder with all these in it so they can refer to it when we need it. But again, that goes back to the new builds. There's teams that decide, hey, I just read about this in whatever magazine, and I want to do this. And hey, Bob, you know how to build a car. Well, he built something way back in the 1960s or whatever, and they don't know where to get the parts from. Hey, eBay sells race parts, so I'm just going to buy them off eBay because they were cheap, and that's our budget. And I think that's some of the problem, quote, that some of these guys have is they just don't know, and we try to teach them. And Ray does a lot of talking to the teams and at the race, and even before we try to get a hold of them and let them know what they need to do.
Yeah, I would recommend to people who are listening to this and maybe going to get ready to build their own car. Obviously, I always tell people, don't sacrifice on safety. I mean, cheap belts versus great belts. What are you saving? $50 on a set of belts? $100 on a set of belts? It's not that much safety. They're still spending $150 on your eBay belts. You spend $250, whatever the case may be. But if you've never built a car, give a guy like Ray a call and ask them some questions. Get a hold of somebody who's done this before and ask them some questions. And worst thing you want to do is get to the racetrack on your first time and not get allowed to go racing because you've got problems that can't be fixed at the racetrack really fast.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that's a rarity, especially with our club, because our members will jump in and help each other. Now, they'll scrap like crazy on track, but when it comes to getting stuff done and needing help and getting the car on track, I've been doing this a long time in a lot of races, and I can only recall two cars that we've actually made.
Well, that's
lead.
good news.
Yeah. It's not.
But there's been a lot of welding, a lot of, stuff that's gone on to get these cars where they be, good enough for a race. Still, it's not in my hands. I do the best I can looking and advise. I mean, I can't make them do
Right.
things and build a car my way because it's my way. But, I can help guide them. And, when I see something wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of call that. I had a guy that asked a question on the desk today. And our club does have a thing called the tech desk. You can call or you can email in, and the whole process is a whole knowledge bank on there of questions that have been asked in the past and already answered that you can find probably what you need by just looking. But I do spend quite a bit of time. We have, I think, we've had over 1,450 questions asked on the tech desk since it came up. What's it been, Bill? 3 years?
Yeah, 2 years. It's called the ChampCar Tech Desk. It's basically a help desk software.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you just log into it. Go to champcar.org/tech. It'll take you right there, and just ask your question or search for your answer because it's probably been asked 100 times over.
Right.
10 times.
I do video. I'll video Skype people. Video chat, look at stuff. The Racing for Heroes guys up at a VIR, they want to run they got an RX-7 and want to know if it would pass, and they're supposed to send me some pictures. And I've talked to two of the members there, one yesterday and one today. So I talked to quite a few people, and we're here to help. I mean, we want people to race. That's what our club is for.
Yep.
And my goodness, I've seen some of the best racing. Bill will tell you in the last 3 years, there have been some races that, it just makes your hair stand up because you cannot tell the strategies and the way everything works out to the end and comes down. I mean, when you got a 10-hour race and you got guys coming across the line side by side for the win, and we had a 8-hour, a 7-hour, it was 60 seconds. And the guy caught him from a minute behind. And it's not just for the overall, it's for class wins, first, second, third overall. To get on the podium is such a battle between, there's so many cars also now that can win in teams. It's not having the fastest car, it's having the best team, the most reliable car, a good team that doesn't beat up and abuse the car to where he hands it off to the next guy with a decent set of tires so they can run a certain time. Being the fastest guy is cool, but if you run the fastest lap and then the next lap you kind of overcook that corner and you're over against the fence next to the wood stuck in the mud, that fast lap didn't mean much because you've now just ruined your team's race. It's all, and if you were a Gingerman at the 24-hour, you saw this with RVA graphics.
Nelson Ledges,
that's it. The 24-hour we just had there, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
They realized that track, which they kind of learned the lesson at Ozarks about pushing it. That track, Nelson's is fast. And when you get to pushing it, you pay the price if you mess up. But if you kind of stay back and just know your limits and stay within them and run a good, consistent race, that's what they did. They win. They won by just all being consistent and not making mistakes.
Yep.
So that's what brings success in this series.
There you go.
It's real racing too. It's
absolutely.
It's the most pure thing of racing going right now. There's no stages. There's no lucky this, get your lap back. There's no running against a clock. You're just racing everybody that showed up.
Yep.
Now we have different classes, but the classes are just by engine size. There was something that came up in our sprint racing days. We still use them. And yes, there are battles within class, but every class car can win and does win throughout the year.
Yep.
Overall. Each car will have FTD at one track or the other throughout the year. It's happened the last 3 or 4 years, I know. I guess we're on track for it to happen again. I think every class car is now won. Maybe D hadn't won over. Yeah.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Riley.
So every class again has won overall. There's no V car in ChampCar.
Yeah.
It's just a variety that just blows my mind. When I'm in impound and here comes BMW and Mercedes, Maserati, Porsche,
GTs.
Mustang, Kia, Infiniti. I just.
No Opals, though.
What?
Well, we've had Opal in impound, but that's right. That was before the race ended and it was on fire.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Somebody moved it off. It was,
There you go.
but it was
moved
red.
out of the way. It was blocking the track. They said, "Move that car. We have to put impound here."
Pull the pin. Pull the pin.
Pull the pin. Pull
Love
the
it.
pin.
Ray, thanks for joining us. We're going to have to do this again. You've got so much knowledge up in that old noggin of yours that we're going to have to get in there and pull it out here a couple of times a year. That's fantastic.
Well, geez, guys, yeah, do that. Keep me in line. Let me know someone that tech tip stuff. I kind of like that. I might have a couple of them that you could use.
Well, if you ever want to suggest a tech tip, we could have you come on just to do a quickie tech tip too.
Well, I got a quickie for you right here. I just saw it, Nelson Ledges.
Do it.
Oh,
We
hold on a
had a
second.
team
Wait,
that had
hold on. You can't do it. You can't do a tech tip
Without the tech tip.
without the tech tip music. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Tech tip time.
Man, I feel so, yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. Tech tip. This is a quickie. Team in Nelson's broke their tail light lens. You've got to have red lights in the back of the car. There's nothing worse than driving at night and having a white light shining in your face. So we make people have red tail lights. They broke their lens out. Oh, what do? Went over and got a red solo cut.
Oh.
Cut that thing down the middle and around the edge and flattened it out. Taped that bad boy over top the lens, and it was the prettiest red. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was perfect. It looked just like the factory lens.
Do you need a moment?
Yes.
That's awesome.
But if you do it right, you just don't even need to cut them. You can put them across and look like an old T-bird or something.
Well, you might take some melting, but anyway, this one worked. It looked great. It was the right shade and everything. I was just really impressed. So,
fantastic.
What people come up with,
Yeah.
ingenuity is something. That's what this series is about. And to keep them running, it's amazing what some people come up with to do.
All right. He's Ray Franck, Chief of Tech Chief, Grand Poobah of all things technical, joining us. Thanks again. We appreciate it. We'll definitely have you on again, Frank. Or Ray.
It doesn't matter. Just Ray Franck. That way you got it all covered.
There you
brother.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Thank y'all a bunch.
When we come back, we'll talk about something for next week. I don't know. We'll figure that out in the next couple of minutes. We've got a 2-minute break. We'll figure it out. That's next on Inside ChampCar. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Inside ChampCar is a podcast that takes a deep dive into all things going on with the ChampCar Endurance Series. Hosted by veteran journalist, radio host, and racer Brian Bielanski and ChampCar's very own Bill Strong, we talk to drivers, team bosses, tech gurus, and series supporters. Episodes air every week in time for you to listen on your way to the track. Inside ChampCar is on the Racing Wire Podcast Network, found on Apple, Spotify, Google, and most popular podcasting apps.
Welcome back to Inside ChampCar. Brian Bielanski, Bill Strong.
How are we going to do that? We're going to put subtitles underneath the
Which part?
podcast when Ray's on there?
Why?
I'm just kidding. There's a lot of people out in California. It's him and Jimmy when they travel with us.
Oh, really?
The guys out west want to hear him talk.
That's
It's
awesome.
like, say this, say that.
Oh, that's a guy who knows a lot of stuff, Bill.
Yes, he does.
And
he's
you're
done a
lucky
lot of
because
stuff.
you and him travel together a lot, and I did not ask him for too many stories.
I hear so many cool stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you got to ask him about the time that Richard Petty offered him a job.
Oh, well, see, Bill, we'll have to have him on again. We'll have to have him on again. So, Still a couple of weeks away from VIR. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about that in the weeks to come. So that's something we'll look forward to next week.
When this airs,
it'll still be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it will be, won't it?
So I know you're trying to get Ben Keating. Hopefully, maybe that'll be the next episode. We'll talk with Ben, and if not, we'll get him on definitely sometime.
Yeah, we will.
But we'll do all that next. Anything else before we head out of here, Bill?
We got right now. We have 73 cars signed up, so it's a pretty good field.
Nice.
And a lot of good teams on there. But yeah, it's going to be fun. And I know you guys are out there working on your cars. Remember, if you have questions on tech or anything like that, just email the tech. You can email them or go to the tech desk, and lots of people see it. Lots of people give you answers.
Awesome. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Inside ChampCar. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the podcast. You won't miss any episodes. Also, it would be great if you share it on your social media channels. Comment on the ChampCar Facebook page. Unless you don't like it, then put it right on Bill Strong's page. Let's see. New episodes every week. I lost my place in the script, Bill. New episodes every week. He's Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski. This is Inside ChampCar on the Racing Wire Podcast Network.